to Breakfast Central. Thank you very much for joining us this Thursday morning here. Congratulations to Labour Party. Or maybe not. We'll talk about that shortly. I am Olive MOD.
Okay, good morning. Thanks for joining us as well. And of course, a welcome to the next 2 hours of our very important and interesting conversations on things happening across Nigeria and, of course, maybe in the other parts of the continent. We, of course, encourage you to be a part of the conversation. Remember to simply tweet at News Central TV. Let us know your thoughts on any of the stories that we are dealing with this morning. And of course, at some point, the phone lines will be open, so you could also share your thoughts with us. Yes, a bit of drama in the Labour Party yesterday with the stakeholders meeting that was called upon by Governor Alex Otti of Abia State and, of course, other Labour Party stakeholders that met, yesterday in Abia State. And, as at yesterday, dissolved the current leadership of Labour Party. Julius Abure, of course, is now no longer chairman, according to the stakeholders meeting. Nenadi Usman has now been made the acting chairman of the Labour Party as it stands. And of course, there was a response from Labour Party itself, and I believe from Julius Abure himself, saying that that meeting was illegal. And of course, whatever decisions that they had there were illegal completely.
Absolutely. I mean, before then, you recall, they were very, very critical of this meeting. They had kicked against it. Julius Abure, of course, was not in support of it, stating, who was empowered to call the meeting was an issue or a subject of debate. But the meeting finally happened, and as you can see, the movers and shakers of the Labour Party were there. We had the presidential candidate, Peter Obi. We had Dati Ahmed. We had Ethan Achonu was there. Badebo Roots-Viver was there. All those who ran for office under the auspice of the Labour Party were at the meeting, which is why a number of people were like, how are you calling it illegal when all the people who ran for office, all the people who are the big names in the party were all there showing their support. In an interesting turn of events, the Labour Party handle has also come out to tweet disowning this meeting, disowning the stakeholders meeting that was held in Umuahia and calling it illegal. But there's been jubilation across the board. We've seen a number of people jubilating at the exit, they will call it, of the Julius Abure-led committee. So the 29-member committee has been set up. Senator Nenadi Usman is leading it, and they've been tasked for the next 3 months to ensure that they organize congresses and ensure a proper transition. She's accepted it, she's shown her commitment, or she's expressed her commitment to restoring unity in the party. Yeah. Now, I would say congratulations to the Labour Party, but then it would seem that this is not the end of the matter. Julius Abure does have the right to challenge the decision. And although Governor Alex Otti has asked or urged that they do not do anything that would jeopardize the party in the future, even though they have the right to challenge this in court. Julius Abure has been in the news for the longest time. I think part of the confusion is your tenure has officially ended. And if your tenure has ended, why do you feel the need to hold on to power for so long? If the people that you're leading, a number of the people that you're leading also come out to say that, they don't want you anymore. The people who have the voice in the party. I think part of the issue was also the interpretation of who has the right to call this meeting. So there's a lot of constitutional and technical or legal issues that might be raised in this. But what we're seeing is that a large number of the Labour Party supporters seem excited by this. And I hope that, the Labour Party can get its act together. They are, maybe the third biggest party in Nigeria, the party that took people by surprise at the last elections. And because of all the drama that was happening within the party, it in a way rendered them weak. And there are people who accused the presidential candidate and the leader of the party of not being able to strongly handle the party. So I think in the next few days, weeks, we'll be able to see what this will mean for the Labour Party, especially now and in the coming elections.
Yeah, very true. The people who were present there aren't just random faces in the Labour Party. I think from what you mentioned, every top figurehead in Labour Party was there yesterday, except the chairman and a handful of others.
Who were invited but decided?
Yeah, they were all invited. Apparently. But the point is, everybody who currently is almost the face of Labour Party in different parts of the country were present. I think I also saw Senator Victor Ume present as well in the stakeholders meeting. But the Labour Party's response, if you look at their social media page, is saying that they do not recognize anything called a stakeholders meeting. That what they normally will recognize is the National Convention, the National Executive Council, National Working Committee, Board of Trustees, State Congress, also spoke about State Executive Council, State Working Committee, Local Government Congress, Local Government Area Council, Local Government Area Working Committee, Ward Congresses, and Ward Executive Council. That the stakeholders meeting is not something that is recognized, in the organizational structure of Labour Party. It says that the organizational structure at the state level should also apply. Well, I mean, it's basically reading from the Labour Party constitution. It says that there are 4 levels of party organizations, namely the ward, local government area, state, and national. And so the expanded stakeholders meeting is not an organ known, in the constitution of the party. And of course, also details what Article 11 of the party constitution states. So that is one of their arguments. And also, I think initially when we had a conversation with Ife Salako, I think sometime last week, the argument then was who was constitutionally required to set up an NEC meeting. And of course, that the chairman of the party must be present, according to their argument, that the chairman of the party must be present at any of such meetings for it to have the legal standings that it requires. But of course, they've gone ahead to hold their meeting, gone ahead with their decisions. Senator Nana Usman, of course, like you mentioned, has been named the acting chairman of Labour Party. I expect that there will be more drama. And of course, I think I agree with the point that you made as well, that there is a rising number of voices who feel like the party is not being managed well and it's not being chairmaned well. There's many people who, of course, if you look at the responses, even to the Labour Party post on social media, there's many more people who do not agree with the current chairman of the Labour Party or with the press release that they put out yesterday. There's a lot of voices who are saying, or who have been saying, that Julius Abure hasn't handled the affairs of the party well enough, and of course I've been advising that he stepped down, long ago. So, and of course that includes, the drama from Kenneth Okonkwo when he, left the party and of course called out Peter Obi and others,
and
saying
also called
that he
out
didn't,
Abure as well, because
he didn't
set
saying
up
that he didn't
trustees.
agree with the way that Peter Obi had handled the crisis, within the party. So there's been a lot of, building drama, in the last couple of weeks or months that has eventually led to what we have today, and it's definitely not over. Yeah. I believe that they will go to court. They will challenge, this resolutions from yesterday, and would eventually see where it leads.
Absolutely. The committee has the next 3 months to be able to help with the proper transition. But if the Labour Party is going to be a formidable force, the force that it was in 2023 elections, to be a much stronger force, then it must sort out its leadership politics within itself. Let's share with you what our top stories are this morning before we bring you breakfast headlines. We feel betrayed. NLC breaks silence on fuel price hike, which is very interesting because the NLC was also not a part of the, they did not support the End Bad Governance protest at first. Nigerians groan as fuel scarcity deepens and the queues get longer as they linger. Asaba motorists call for interrogation of President Tinubu. You'll find out why shortly. We also have the National Association of Nigerian Students denies planning protest against fuel price hike. We'll be reviewing the newspaper front pages. We'll be joined with an analyst. But for now, let's bring you breakfast headlines.
Now let's begin breakfast headlines by telling you that President Bola Tinubu has highlighted Africa's vast opportunities for investment, growth, and development, citing its vibrant population, productive economy, and abundant natural resources. Speaking at a bilateral meeting with the Chinese Premier Li Qiang on Wednesday in Beijing, President Tinubu praised the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation for enhancing the partnership between Africa and China, promoting mutual development and prosperity.
In this journey together, we believe that we can share a very common denominator, which is investment and development, to ensure China and African relationship is encouraged. For me, as a Nigerian, and equally as the chairman of the ECOWAS, I'm happy that the strategic partnership being promoted is acceptable to both sides. And this is the only way.
The National Economic Council has set a deadline of Monday, September 9th for 4 states to submit their reports on the establishment of state police. The NEC plans to adopt comprehensive reports from all 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory on Monday. It added that any state that fails to meet the deadline will be bound by any decisions made. And also in the news, 2 leaders from the Okwama community in Ugeli South local government area of Delta State have filed a lawsuit against the Nigerian Army and the State Security Services, seeking 200 million naira in damages. James Ogoroko and Dennis Okubaye, who were among the 6 community leaders reportedly arrested by military officials last month, initiated separate suits at the Federal High Court in Warri through their legal team. They are challenging the arrest and prolonged detention without being charged in court or granted access to lawyers. Nigeria has now become the 3rd largest debtor to the International Development Association, a branch of the World Bank. Recent financial statements from the World Bank show that Nigeria's debt to the IDA has surged by 14.4%, rising from $14.3 billion in 2023 to $16.5 billion for the 2024 financial year. This marks Nigeria's debut among the top 3 IDA debtors, up from 4th place in 2023. Away from Nigeria now, a major oil project in Uganda, co-owned by French multinational Total Energies and China's CNOOC, is facing serious allegations of human rights abuses, including sexual violence, forced evictions, and environmental degradation. According to reports, residents of villages in Kingfisher area have described being forcefully evicted, often with little to no notice, by the Uganda People's Defense Forces. And that's all on Breakfast Headlines. We now move back to Breakfast Central and get into our top stories. I am Osaogie Ogbon.
As Nigerians continue to groan over the recent hike of fuel prices across the country, some motorists and commuters in Asaba, the Delta State capital, have called on the National Assembly to invite President Bola Tinubu, who doubles as the Minister of Petroleum Resources, for interrogation. News Central's correspondent Austin Azu, who monitors the development in Asaba, completes the report.
The cost of transportation has doubled in less than 24 hours after the implementation of the readjustment of the pump price by the NNPCL filling stations across Nigeria. In Asaba, the Delta State capital, the pump price of the premium motor spirits varies from one fuel station to another. While NNPCL mega fuel station sells at 885 naira per litre, other independent fuel stations sell between 1,000 naira to 1,050 naira per litre. Some fuel stations are under lock and key, while the fuel dispensing fuel only sell with 1 or 2 pumps.
I bought 917 naira per litre. It's crazy. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, you can't just imagine it. What is going on in Nigeria?
I say 1,000 naira per litre. That is what we are buying today. It's affecting our business. We are not everywhere. It's just scatter. Yeah, I'm a keke driver.
Most Asaba residents came out of their homes on Wednesday morning, only to be greeted with the new increase in cost of transportation of twice their usual transport fares.
From Kebu to Banam, 500, but now 1,000.
When I will carry highest, I pay 700 naira. But now, if I carry heavy load, it's 1,000 something. It's affecting us badly, though. Especially me, so it's affecting me.
On the reason for the hike in price, commercial transport operators in the state capital blame it on the cost of petrol. Some commuters called on the National Assembly to invite the Minister of Petroleum Resources for interrogation over the hike in fare, while others called for reduction as the new 70,000 naira minimum wage cannot save the situation.
We dey suffer for this Nigeria where we dey so. Why be say Tinubu enter there, he won't make people suffer. They say 1,000, 1,005, 1,002. Only this police station and they say 970. Which can't be this now? We just dey suffer and everybody get children. May they help us now for this life where we dey suffer.
May they do and make this work conda. If all the women go feel who come out, me I go come out.
If it's possible to even summon the president himself, he should come. People are dying. Is that the reason why they voted for him to be the president? People are dying. People cannot cope. The take home are not even taking people to their street. Talk of taking them to their home. Whoever that need to be summoned to should be summoned. People need to know where we are going to. People need to know that there is a way out of this and what the government is doing to solve this problem. Because this is not sustainable at all. There's no way you say this is life. People are not living here.
The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited on Tuesday raised the pump price of petrol to 879 naira per litre from the official price of 617 naira, leaving the independent marketers to sell for as much as over 1,000 naira per litre. In Asaba, for News Central, I'm Austin Azu.
And of course, a lot of those people have very strong points there, asking that the Minister of Petroleum be asks questions, basically about the National Assembly. And it's one of the things that, we've repeatedly seen that is missing when we have these conversations, with seeming mismanagement of our petroleum sector and the inability of Nigerians to buy something as simple as petrol. The failure to fix our refineries decades and decades and decades, past, and many of all these, questions, subsidy and the confusion surrounding it as well. Do we have National Assembly who is going to look into these things and, of course, raise the right questions or not? Now, Nigeria has commenced production of petrol for the first time in 28 years at the Dangote Refinery. The 650,000 barrels per day facility has concluded test production and will begin sales immediately. This development is expected to bring relief to Nigerians experiencing petrol scarcity and save the country billions of dollars in foreign exchange.
The refinery will produce 330,000 barrels of petrol daily, meeting over 1% of global demand. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, will be the sole buyer of the product. We're joined this morning by Public Affairs Analyst Nnaemeka Obiariri. Good morning, Mr. Obiariri. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, Olives. Thanks for having me.
All right, let's get into the details. Exciting times for the very first time in 28 years. Do you see this maybe as a big step in the right direction in dealing with Nigeria's energy crisis?
Yes, it's a very, very massive step in the right direction. Very, very massive sense is that coming on stream of Dangote Refinery, we actually finally help us to cure this inability of Nigeria to actually understand and appreciate and estimate its daily PMS consumption, which we started experiencing since 2010 under Desiani and Jonathan. And between 2000 to 2007, it was very easy for Nigerians to know the volume of PMS we consume in Nigeria, which is the gasoline. And that was why between 2000 to 2007 under Obasanjo, the number increased just from 22 million liters a day to 27 million liters in a period of 8 years. And this rate of consumption corresponds with the same rate of increase within other countries that share the same demography as Nigeria. And that is why after the debacle of 2011-2012, when the National Assembly discovered that out of the 52 million liters that were claimed then by the NNPC then to have been imported into Nigeria, working with Ponzi marketers, it was only about 29 million that came in, and people were meant to refund money. But the madness started in 2015 when Buhari became president. All of a sudden, Nigerian number went back to 52, 58, 66. In fact, it even got to a ridiculous level of 72 million liters a day. And if you even look at the records, January to July 2023, NNPC, there was even a time in March, they told us they imported 72 million liters and we consumed it here a day, which is not true. And then in July 2003, 2013 came down to 43. And we all clapped for them. Of course, even that, at that 43, it is still way above the numbers that NDPRA, the former DPR, declared was our daily consumption at 8 million. Then all of a sudden, January, February, the number went up 61 million liters a day, which is madness. So what Dangote Refinery had done for us, we are practically going to be sure with some layers of transparency. We will expect Dangote Refinery to publish on a daily basis the volume of PMS, that GHO that they release into the Nigerian market. It will help us to cure this malaise that have been eating up Nigeria. We have been paying subsidies on what we consumed and what we did not consume. So Dangote Refinery will help us to reduce the over $24 billion, which is almost 40% of our FS expenditures demand, because based on what is obtainable now, we'll be able to know what we consume, know what we are not consuming, and then save us some level of forex pressure. And if we're able now to diversify our economy in the non-oil sector like the oil and agri sector and agro value chain, and begin to export more than we consume. Right. Over time, Naira may appreciate over the dollar. And when the Naira appreciates over the dollar about 1,200, this PMS price will still come down, and which is good for the economy.
Okay. I mean, there's also parts of, the whole conversation that are a bit confusing or that Nigerians have, questioned. And one of them, of course, is the NNPC being the sole recipient of PMS from the Dangote Refinery. People have pointed out the Petroleum Industry Act and other, directives. So can you clarify, if there's anything wrong with the NNPC being the only the body that receives PMS from the Dangote Refinery? Independent marketers also, meant to be able to get into the petrol market as well.
Let me explain to you why NNPC. I'm not holding brief for NNPC because I cannot hold brief for them.
We just want clarity.
Yes. So because they're one of the most corrupt entities in the history of Nigeria. Basically, why NNPC is the sole off-taker is because the PMS prices are still being subsidized. For our information, as at Tuesday, 2 days ago, the price of a barrel of a Brent in the market, for global market, was about $72.74. Remember that Dangote is getting the products in Naira, but that doesn't mean that we just give him the product at arbitrary rate. There is a ruling rate. We have a very transparent foreign exchange market, which Yemi can also put in place, and which is kudos to him, because before now we used to have multiple exchange rate market. Today we have a single rate that is transparently determined by the voice of the man supplying the market. As at the Tuesday, the number was about 1,617 naira to $1. So if you multiply 72.74 by 1617 and divide it by the volume of PMS, or the volume of a product in the byproduct in a barrel, you discover that it will actually be at 747 naira per liter. And then by the time you add in the cost of financing, cost of operation, Dangote is not a Father Christmas or Santa Claus. You may discover that Dangote may sell his PMS at 967, 1,100 naira per liter. There is no marketer out there that will deliberately go to buy product from Dangote and now compete with NNPC filling stations that are going to be selling at 855, 865. Nobody will do it. Product is still being subsidized at the current market rate of 855. What had happened is that our subsidy rate will come down from 600 naira per liter to about 260 naira to 345 naira per liter, because the market is still not fully regulated, just where we have it in the gas oil and the aviation market. As long as the market is not fully deregulated, where somebody can go in, buy your product, price it the way you want it, and then export and then sell to your end users, Dangote remains. NNPC will keep on taking it because they are the only ones that have the buffer, an arrangement with the federal government of Nigeria, where they will under-recover whatever is not paid for, and the federal government will reimburse them. That is why NNPC is still the sole buyer of Dangote products. If the market is fully regulated today, and Nigerians are meant to buy product at the right price, which is about 1,100, 1,200, other marketers are free to go to Dangote, just like the HEO. Nobody is being stopped from buying the HEO from the Dangote refineries. The marketers are buying HEO from Dangote refineries. So if the market for the PMS is fully regulated today, just like the HEO or aviation fuel,
all right. Seeing as right now, we've not yet deregulated, and conversations about the deregulation of the downstream sector have been on for a while. One of the concerns that we've also heard expressed is the monopoly of the market. Monopoly in the sense that Dangote has been the sole provider right now, the sole seller, and the NNPC being the sole buyer. There are those who worry about what the pricing points might be, and that because Dangote now, in a sense, has a monopoly of the market, he can decide what price he should sell, even though he said that the FEC will be the one to determine what the price is. But there are those who worry about the monopoly. Is that a concern you have in terms of pricing?
No, I don't think there's any reason to fear for now, because the federal government of Nigeria, through the NNDPRA, did not outrightly ban any importation. Anybody is free to go and import PMS, get the license from NNDPRA, and import if you think you can competitively sell and you make money below what Dangote is doing. And remember again, at the current production capacity, Dangote will be doing about 25 million liters of 25 million liters of PMS every day. Nigeria consumes conservatively, the real factual number, about 8.5 million liters of the PMS every day. So what Dangote is still producing as at now is still way below the daily consumption of the Nigerian market. So there is still need for NNPC to augment what Dangote is doing through the importation from other vendors like the Glencores, the Ford, the Fritters, and the traffickers of this world. But overall, I believe that we must totally deregulate the market. And let me explain to you, Nigerians have always clamored, how come the price is not coming down? If we want the price of the PMS to be very stable, to come down to the level where it can never go above 600 naira per liter across all the product value chain, gas oil, gasoline, we have proposed a very unique structure, and which we are, if time permits me, we'll repeat again. We currently have 2 refineries, the Port Harcourt and the Warri, with combined refining capacity of about 335,000 barrels a day. All the federal government of Nigeria compelled NNPC, Minister of Finance incorporated can do it. Let them put that refinery in a bucket, value them, sell down 80% of the shareholding in those refineries, just like Obasanjo did in 2007. 30% to core investors, 50% to Nigerians, listed on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Allow the new investors to collocate additional 160,000 barrels a day. Now, under this arrangement, there's a 444,000 barrels meant for those refineries under the joint venture arrangement. Hand it over to the new owners or give them marginal fuel. But under a special arrangement, they will do what we call cost plus defined margin of 30%. And what is that cost? The highest cost of production of crude oil in Nigeria is $31 per barrel. To refine a crude oil, a barrel of crude is about $10, amortized over time. That's $41. 30% margin is about $12 additional, which is $53. If this is arranged, and then we set up a bulk petroleum purchasing company that is going to be peopled and owned by Tapman, Ipman, Moman, and the other agencies in Nigeria to ensure that these products are not kited out. If we do it, no matter the fluctuations in crude oil prices in the world, we will get the PMS, the HU, the aviation fuel anywhere in Nigeria at a cost of not more than 650 naira per liter. And again, it will help us to, those volumes will be off OPEC. Then the OPEC, the ones will be producing under the OPEC quota, we will certify. We can actually ramp up output to about 2.53 million barrels a day. And we will now amend the PIA. Nobody again is going to get marginal fuel or OPL unless you are going to connect with the refinery here in Nigeria. Nothing stopped Nigeria from producing enough to take care of the whole of West African market. After all, Brazil, with a crude oil reserve of only 15 billion barrels, refines 2.4 million barrels every day in 19 refineries, far more than what they consume, and they export to the whole world. Nigeria can do the same thing, and this country will be better for it.
Speaking of, what will be better for the country, there have been talks about the privatization of the Warri and Kaduna refinery. Some have kicked against it. What are your thoughts, about that?
Kaduna refinery should be scrapped. Anybody telling you that he wants to repair Kaduna refinery is deceiving you, because first of all, Kaduna refinery was built not to use any of Nigerian crude, Brent, but to use the heavy Venezuelan crude, and the pipelines that move from the Escravos or any of the Atlas coves all the way to Kaduna had been compromised. I will advise, if we cannot get any arrangement or heavy crude from the shore, we should just scrap the Kaduna refinery or just turn it into a storage tank. But for the Warri and Port Harcourt, those ones can quickly, as a matter of urgency, be privatized. And in the longer run and the overall interest of Nigeria, we are not the only oil producing country. NNPC has remained opaque because we have refused to do the right or develop the political way to take the right steps. If you look at Brazil, Petrobras is only owned 28% by the Brazilian government. 72% shareholding now owned by institutional investors. and it is listed on the Broadland Stock Exchange. If we do this thing for the NNPC, I tell you the truth, annually we will generate nothing less than $20-30 billion into this economy as new investment across the whole oil and gas value chain. And remember that oil and gas actually are working capital. Nigeria should not even depend on it wholly. We can actually diversify this economy in a way that we can regenerate nothing less than $450 billion, both from oil and gas and oil and gas sector. Mr. President has enunciated his vision. I want to build a $1 trillion economy. It's a very lofty and achievable vision. If we can totally unbundle, execute leadership and institutional reforms at the NNPC and Petroleum Ministry, I tell you of the truth, he can even achieve that $1 trillion economy size before 2027.
All right. I mean, these are ifs, and of course, it would happen if we have a government that truly is invested in those dreams as well. We've been hearing about, the Port Harcourt Refinery and the time adjusted. It was meant to start in August. We're currently in September. They probably would push it again to the near future, and maybe into 2025. Nobody knows. But do you see Port Harcourt Refinery at any point coming, to life under the current administration? Do you also see full deregulation that you've mentioned coming into, fruition at any point, during the current administration? I also want you to quickly share, I was looking at the, based on the first question I asked, about monopoly. I think Olive also mentioned that. The Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Act, just to share if this, is in any way relevant in this conversation. The Act, of course, the restrictive agreements aspect of the Act, Section 59, subsection C, says, goes against limiting or controlling production or distribution of any goods, services, markets, technical development or investment, subject to Section 108 of this Act. And it also speaks about any agreement among undertakings or a decision of or an association of undertakings that has the purpose of actual or likely effect of preventing, restricting, or distorting competition in any market is unlawful and subject to Section 61 of this Act. So does this Act in any way have any relevance with the agreement between Dangote and the NNPC?
No, to be honest with you, the agreement is, Dangote is a refinery. Dangote can sign agreement with Petrol, he can sign agreement with Glencore. He has the right to sign agreement with any entity. NNPC, as of today, in the books, is known as NNPC Limited, but we know that in ownership structure, it's not a limited liability company. Dangote can also sign with any of the other global oil marketers. But it's true that based on the fact that the market is still being deregulated here, it does not make any sense for anybody to even go and sign an agreement to bring product and then sell at a loss. Now, on the issue of the refineries, will they work? The truth remains that with the current leadership at the NNPC, I have no faith in whatever they say. Because remember, the current GMD of NNPC told us gleefully in 2018 and 2019 that before Buhari leaves office in May 2023, that those refineries will work. And I want to even believe that it was on the strength of those promises and concrete oaths sworn that Mr. President quickly removed subsidy, thinking that he will have buffers from those refineries. And what would have expected? Look at what Yemi Cardoso did in the central bank. Yemi Cardoso entered Central Bank of Nigeria. He knew that there was serious institutional rot, human capital rot. He did a massive clearance. Even last week, he sacked about other bunch of human beings. He sacked everybody, cleared up the backlog. Today, at the central bank, you can easily see what they are doing. Most of his policies, which is 5% of the problem, are spot on. Now, at the NNPC, we expect the federal government of Nigeria. When Mr. President was sworn in and he removed subsidy, it was predicated on two things. The refineries working, and then our output going up. And for over the last 15 months, we have seen clearly that the leadership at NNPC are incapable in terms of competency, in terms of integrity, and everything to fulfill their promises. What would have expected, Mr. President, by now to have pulled the rug, just like Yemi Cardoso did, by clearing the mass of human beings there and appointing technically savvy, honest and professional operators to run those places, tell NNPC and NDPRA. When he had done this, then these people now will kickstart the process of unbundling that place to make it more efficient, more transparent, and more profitable for Nigeria. You cannot put old wine in new wine and old bottle, and it will leak. That is why I expected even the people who made those promises to have even voluntarily resigned. Nigeria, see the kind of sufferings Nigerians are going through. We've wasted over 4 trillion naira. from 2015 till now. Those refineries are not yet working. These are refineries that were built in 13, 16 years. They are not even older than other refineries in other parts of the world that are still working. The problem is the inefficiencies because it is public sector owned, and you cannot tell me that if these refineries were owned by Arade Group or Watersmith, the management and the board will still remain there. It's not possible. They will have been fired.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, what the implication of Dangote Refinery now producing petrol will mean for our FX. There was an investors meeting a while ago where, when Godwin Emefiele was still the governor of the CBN, and in answering questions, he mentioned how, floating the Naira should be done after Dangote Refinery starts production, because then the pressure on the Naira would have reduced, it would have stopped, hemorrhaging at the time. So is this something maybe you think that the government of the day should do now or should have done at this time? You know that last year when the Naira was floated, our currency has tanked, and a number of people have criticized, a number of experts have criticized that move by the government at the time. Would it have been a decent time now that Dangote has started production for us to then float the Naira?
See, the truth is, Oliver, there is this mistake that we make of thinking that because Naira is at 1,100, that is why we have all the, yes, it's part of the, it's a major contributor to the inflation because we did not manage the underlying factors that were supposed to have supported the two policies that the federal government of Nigeria put out and spot on. Because before this government came into play, Nigeria had over $632 billion inflow and $450 billion inflow. Net, Naira and the dollar should have been at 170 Naira to $1 when Buhari left office. But because of the corruption, because of the multi-layered, FX markets, there were a lot of round tripping and money laundering. We lost over 180 billion through back doors, and that is why Naira suffered. And by the time the federal government, this government came into be, we had output at less than 1 million barrels a day, and the downstream sector was riddled with all manner of corruption. What would have expected? That is why the box still falls on the president table. He is the commander-in-chief, he is the petroleum minister. Fully, if you believe so much in his new agenda, which I believe he believes, what he would have done was to clear out the people there and appoint new people. And it's not yet too late for him to do it. And again, even at 1,000, if we achieve FS stability, even at this 1,600 Naira rate, and Nigerians are able to ramp up output, fix insecurity, and drive the economy and the income level of Nigerians, this country HDI will go up. Because the fact that look at Singapore, look at Vietnam. Vietnam dong is 24,000 dong to $1. But Vietnam has a far better higher development index, far better welfare for their citizens, far better life expectancy rate because of the one fact that they became massively productive. Annually, they export nothing less than $356 billion worth of commodities. That your currency is weak is not a disadvantage. It's actually an advantage if you mobilize production, if you mobilize security, if you instill transparency in your most critical focused sector, which is agri and which is oil and gas. It is not yet late. I tell you of a truth. If we can execute the same massive reform that Petrobras did, if we can execute the same massive reform that we have at NLNG, in an NPC, and we do the right thing, in 6 months, Nigerians will be shocked at what this country will turn around. But the buck still is on Mr. President table. Why they are still dragging their feet in executing that urgently needed leadership and social reform at NNPC is only a mystery that can be explained by them.
Yeah. All right. Nameka Berry, thank you very much for joining us this morning. There's a lot of ifs, and only time will tell, if the current administration will take these things seriously, or maybe they have better plans. We'll get to know as time passes. Thanks for your time once again. We'll speak with you again pretty soon.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Now, of course, the conversations continue this morning. Remember, to be a part of it, simply tweet at News Central TV. The Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, has condemned President Bola Tinubu's government for the recent petrol price increase, describing it as a deep sense of betrayal. According to a statement signed by its president, Joe Ajero, the NLC recalled that the government had promised not to increase fuel prices when the 70,000 national minimum wage was accepted.
The Congress is demanding an immediate reversal of the fuel price hike, release of incarcerated protesters, and an end to policies that exacerbate hunger and insecurity. The NLC vowed to stand with the people and take appropriate decisions in the coming days. Joining us is Nigerian Labour Congress Public Relations Officer of the Lagos State Council, Ismail Ishola Adejumo. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning for having me. Good morning.
Nigerian Labour Congress has made the following demands. 1, the immediate reversal of the fuel price increase. 2, release of incarcerated protesters. 3, end to indiscriminate arrests and detentions. 4, reversal of the 250% electricity tariff hike. 5, stop to the encroachment of the Ministry of Labour and Employment duties. 6, end to policies that engender hunger and insecurity. 7, halt to the government's culture of terror, fear, and deceit. And I needed to highlight what the asks were, because if you see, Mr. Ishola, a few of the asks were included in the End Bad Governance protest ask. And the NLC was not in support of the protest at the beginning, even though much later, when protesters were incarcerated, they then started to speak up. Do you think that right now, the NLC will garner the support of the Nigerian people, and that the NLC has the presence of mind to be able to hold the government to account, seeing that it's fighting its own internal battles, with Joe Ajaero, on the other hand, having to answer to the Nigerian police?
Thank you very much. You will recall vividly that prior to the time when this End Bad Governance protest was about to kickstart, that was when we are just rounding up our negotiation with the government on the issue of minimum wage, which has lingered for almost a year. And being a responsible and sensitive, organized body of the working people of Nigeria, we felt at that time the demand of the working people to a great extent has been looked into, vis-a-vis the demand by the people who are organizing the bad governance protest. We share in their sentiment, we share in their emotion and the feelings, but because we are also in Nigerian, we feel the same pulse, we feel the pain they are passing through. But as a working people and as organized labor, we have our modus operandi. We don't just join any struggle without prior involvement in it. As it were now, the tension is so high in the country. Everybody is complaining and feeling the pain of the harsh policy of this government. And I must tell you that we still stand very much with the people. We are the only voice for the voiceless of Nigeria. The government of the day has not really been so sensitive and responsive to the plight of the common man. And that is why the only standing voice that give a constructive criticisms to the government is the Congress president. And if you can see, in a recent time now, he has been alleged of some trump-up charges, which is very, very uncalled for. This is not the democracy we fought together with our co-compatriots in government to enthrone. But at this very moment, the Nigerian Labour Congress feel betrayed, because I told you in your studio when we are about to finalize our agreement with the government that the Congress president came to the Congress and reported that the only condition for federal government to pay 250,000 for us as a minimum wage is to jack up the price of pump price to 1,500 or 2,000 thereabout. But we felt it is going to inflict untold hardship, pain, agony on Nigerians. And that is why we gallantly retreat and come to terms with Nigerians that, okay, whatever it is, let us take the 70,000 and maintain the status quo while the pain is still on. But we have the hope, and we believe in the government Renew Hope agenda that they has give a timeline and a framework that sooner or later the price of PMS will crash as a result of competitive arrangement. But as it were now, there is no even clear direction of who is telling the truth or who is lying to Nigerians as to the price of pump price. It's quite unfortunate. We are not happy. We are not going to take it lightly, as Congress President have said it, that sooner or later you have seen our major demand, immediate reversal, because this is not negotiated. It was not agreed. We agreed on a gentleman agreement that the price should remain the same, while the so-called, we classify it in the labor circle as a starvation wage. What has been proposed? What can 70,000 do in this economy of today? Inflation has eroded everything. The purchasing power has completely dropped. People are living in abject poverty, multi-dimensional poverty as a worker. We cannot proud of a decent live. So these are our major demand. And also, before that time, we are also pressing for the reversal of the 250% hike in electricity tariff. I think that goes with the masses. because that is what will determine the production cost of most of the people in the MSME, medium and small enterprise. The cost of production, you can see the cost of diesel now has gone up almost to close to 2,000, 1,000 plus. These are the major issues. We have to look at it. All the indicators, all the indices that determine a viable and vibrant economy are all negative. And we call on the government as the people who have been elected, duly elected, to represent the people, to yield to the demand of the masses.
I want to ask, I mean, you've stated, clearly how upset, of course, the NLC is. You've said that they feel very, unhappy with the way that things have turned out. But, I mean, if you look at the demands that the NLC had in the past, before eventually it called off its strike and whatnot, almost none of those demands were met by the government, except, of course, the 70,000 naira minimum wage that was eventually announced. It is also a far cry from the 250,000 naira that the NLC was, asking for. So we can argue that none of the NLC's demands were met in the first place. So why do you think the government would care now, about your being upset about the new increase in fuel price? Along with, of course, Olive had asked before, your president has been charged with treason and other very, very heavy charges have been placed against him. So why do you think the Nigerian government cares what the NLC thinks? And what is the NLC going to do if the fuel price remains like this or even goes higher?
Quite frankly, I said it earlier on that the demand before the negotiation of the minimum wage still remains sacrosanct. We demanded that the government of today should look into the revitalization of the four-nation refinery. And part of the agreement was that the Port Harcourt refinery will come on stream as soon as possible. In fact, they promised December last year. And here we are in September of a new year, counting down to 2 years in office. This is still a mirage. We are still hoping, we are still expecting them to make sure this refinery works, to boost our local production. Thank God for the Dangote Refinery that come on stream now with a lot of challenges associated with the operation. And now, what we are saying is that the CNG buses, which the government also promised to cushion the effect of the hike transportation, was launched, I think, about a few weeks ago. But we have not really seen it in practical terms, the effect of it. It was just a ceremonial commissioning of some few CNG buses. This is not what government promised, but we are still demanding. Those demands are there. So also,
yeah, but what is on the tail end of this demand? That's what I'm asking. What's on the tail end of this demand? The tail end of the demand
is that any attempt for government not to yield to the demand of the working people and the Nigerians, it will amount to us to invoke the last instrument that government understand better, which is to down tool or to go on a strike. But we don't enjoy going on strike because it crippled the economy. But if that is the only language government understand, and the more reason why we did not join the end bad governance protest, because we felt that it might be hijacked, and look at the situation around it. People are now participating in the strike, in the protest now, have been detained, have been harassed. So we are organized body, we are registered with government, we have our modus operandi, we have our rules of engagement, we can be identified. We are known people, we are not faceless people. So therefore, government have the obligation to engage us constructively and put all this policy into contestation and debate, so that we can now align with the superior argument that truly this is what can give us a very vibrant and robust economy, against what we are being canvassed to us now, that the price, the landing cost of petrol is about 1,002 and thereabout. So they have to push it to about 800 and something naira as the minimum. So this cannot sustain an average worker. Since this minimum wage was pronounced, has it been paid? We have not even seen the template for the payment. The so-called wage award that was designed to cushion the effect as a result of the sudden removal has been stopped. The consequential adjustment of salary, which government pronounced prior to the minimum May Day of May 29 this year, has not been implemented. So the workers are not happy. People generally are not happy. The government should listen. It is becoming, unbearable. So that is our demand, and we stand by the people of Nigeria which we are not, the people of Nigeria are not better than, they are not special than the working people, because we are the working people. We are also within the masses. So whatever the effect of the economy also affect us. We are not finding it easy. That is just the bottom line. And there is a demand that has been set out now. You've read it, and we are counting down. That is how we operate. We give an ultimatum. We make demand. When these are not yielded to, then we invoke our instruments that the government can understand better.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us. We, of course, will be following with the updates to see exactly what becomes of this, even though there are many who just think that this might just be paying lip service, because, you know, we've asked again and again, a number of these asks have been made before now by the NLC, and nothing really has been done. So what is different this time? But
struggle continue.
All right.
In labor, we don't relent. We are dogged people and rugged. We continue to press. We continue to make the genuine demand, not outrageous demand that are feasible, that are realistic and feasible.
Yeah,
so
but
the government should listen.
The point is none of them.
Should listen.
The point is the government hasn't moved even an inch on any of your previous demands. Not
so
on
why
electricity,
do we think that
not
they will
on
move now?
Anything.
But I guess the moral of right. I guess that the moral of the story is whether or not
we'll continue to press for those demands until the government yield to our demand and make a greater happiness for the greater number of Nigerians.
All right.
We are not anti-government.
I guess the
mindset
mindset
is
is
political party, but we are organized labor. We are pressure group to check the excesses of government to make sure that the economy is viable and vibrant at every time, so that masses can be happy. Anything short of that, we'll continue to press, and that's why we say freedom come by struggle.
I guess that a great way to sum it up, Mr. Adejimo,
a good governance.
I guess a great way to sum it up would be Aluta Continua, Victoria Asata.
Victory is always certain.
Ismail Ishola Adejimo, thank you for your time with us.
My pleasure always.
All right, let's bring you a recap of the conversations this morning and share with you what to expect in the next hour. Nigerians groan as fuel scarcity deepens. The queues linger. They're getting longer by the day. We also looked at the Asaba motorists calling for interrogation of President Tinubu in his capacity as the Minister of Petroleum. Nance denies planning protest against fuel price hike. It's one of the stories we took during our breakfast headlines as well. But now let's share with you what's coming up in the next hour.
Coming up next, well, again, we feel betrayed. NLC breaks the silence on fuel price hike. We're also bringing you the newspaper headlines, major stories making headlines across Nigeria this morning, and also what Nigerians are saying. Newspapers this morning share with you these major stories making headlines across Nigeria. We're kicking off with the Punch newspapers. Should be on your screen in just a few seconds. Yes, it says there, NNPCL bars independent marketers amid surge in prices. It says 3 PMS vessels arrive, transport fares jump as major marketers raise fuel price. State Police, NEC to brainstorm on 32 states report. And also PDP shifts NWC meeting over Governor's Wike's tension. And also Abure rejects OT's 29-man peace panel. And also Nigerian police will torture and kill me if I surrender, says a wanted Britain. If you remember, he is, of course, wanted in connection with the End Bad Governance protest and, you know, the raiding of his Eva Valley bookshop, which is located at the NLC building in the Federal Capital Territory. NEC fears poor harvest as flooding kills 205. Okay. All right. So what happens, you know, when those fears occur? Do we have like plans to mitigate change in weather and, you know, possible weather issues, which happen every year? Nigeria's economy has stagnated, says Bill Gates. And also Shatima launches or inaugurates $115 million West African container terminal upgrade in Rivers. APC will end PDP pains on Edo people, says Monday Okpebolo. Those are the major stories of the Punch newspapers this morning.
All right, let's move away from the Punch newspaper to the next paper, the Daily Trust newspaper. On the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper, the big story, petrol price hike Transport faces surge, 50% nationwide. Commuters express worry, protest breaks out in Delta. Inflation may rise further, according to the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. Afenifere, PDP demand reversal of increase. TUC asks government to rescind decision. Tinubu didn't bargain fuel price for minimum wage, presidency tells NLC. Gunmen attack 2 plateau communities, kill 7. Banks loans to private sector hit 2.3 trillion naira in 1 month, according to a report. Africa, good place for investment, Tinubu tells Chinese investors. That's a very important conversation we'll have shortly. Insecurity in our region must end now, ACF Northern leaders say. Bajabia Mila can't take over National Assembly's oversight role, according to reps. State police submit reports in 6 days, NEC tells 4 states, FCT. Nigeria complex but not difficult to govern, says former President Olusegun Obasanjo. That's all on the Daily Trusts. We'll take our next papers, and just to mention that when we're done with the papers, we'll be taking your phone calls and reactions to this.
All right, the last paper this morning, or well, not last, the next paper this morning is the Daily Independent. It says there, NEC revs up process, gives 4 states September 9th to submit report. To adopt comprehensive report on Monday, federal government releases 3 billion naira to states affected by flooding. All right. Bill Gates to inject $2.8 billion in Nigeria's healthcare and agri sectors. And also this morning, petrol price hike will affect Nigerians and real sector, says MAN. North not averse to constitutional review, ACF is saying. Africa holds opportunities for growth, Tinubu tells Chinese investors. Petrol pump price increase, a recipe for crisis, PDP warns. Labour Party picks ex-minister Nana Usman as interim chairperson. And also 3,590 inmates are on death row in Nigeria, says NCOS. Federal government committed to securing Northwest, Matawale assures Sokoto governor. Economic activities expand first time in 13 months, says the CBN. And these are the stories that we can find on the Daily Independent. This Nigerian newspaper coming up next.
On the front page of this Nigerian newspaper, insecurity. Federal government may okay state police for some states. National Economic Council to consider comprehensive report from 36 states and FCT. Gives 4 states September 9th deadline to declare position on proposal. Nigeria, China move to revive local currency swap. Protests. Judge refers Omoyele and 2 others' case to CJ for reassignment. Fuel price hike. Labour plans next course of action. Slams government. Man worried over impact of PMS increase expresses fear for SMEs. NIMET predicts 3-day thunderstorms, rains across Nigeria. That's all on the front page of the paper. Now, just to mention that if you'd like to react or respond to any of the stories, please call the number on the TV screen to share your thoughts and your comments on these stories. And when you do, remember to turn down the volume of your TV set before you call in. We'll begin the conversation this morning with the big story on the front page of the Daily Trust. Petrol price hike, transport fares surge 50% nationwide. And we're seeing here that commuters have expressed worry. Protest breaks out in Delta. The fear here with the transport price hike that we're seeing is that, you know, it's going to spiral across board. Unfortunately, whilst the prices of fuel is increasing, the prices of goods will increase, the prices of transport will increase, automatically the prices of everything will increase. The only thing that is not quite increasing is the income that a number of Nigerians have. Then not a lot of people, not a lot of employers will have reviewed the salaries of their employees. So they are expected to still be able to make ends meet with the current reality that is more than 3 times the salary that they negotiated, more than 3 times the cost of what they will typically budget for a month. So I worry how Nigerians are going to be able to survive in this season, especially because the fears are that this might not even be the end, that this might not be where the pricing will stop with regards to petrol prices.
Yeah. Anyway, let's speak with Lenin, probably come back, and respond to that. Good morning, Lenin.
Good morning, Ms. Central. I thought you guys are doing very well.
Thank you. First of all, before you go on, I just want you to share, have your realities changed with regards to new petrol price?
I my head is, I can't really take what is going on. I've been trying to process my head for days now. Like, I can't take it because my mental health is, I wouldn't use some word, it's messed up already. Like, I couldn't buy fuel on Monday. I was trying to go on Tuesday. They now told me that it's 1,200. Now, I was not processing it. I said, as that last year, like 16 months ago, 1,200 would have fetched me 6 liters of fuel. But today, it's 1 liter. I couldn't process it. Like, I couldn't process it. And the thing is that the money we make is almost the same thing. So this is the reality of Nigerians. Nigerians are crying. Our president is the Minister of Petroleum. He should do something about it. This NNPC man should go. He's not doing anything. He doesn't know what to do. If that man employed me and I'm doing this thing, he would have sacked me a long time ago. So he should go. He should go. He doesn't know what is going on. He should go. And Dangote giving approval for NNPC to fix the price. That is another problem. We know this thing. We can predict what is going to be the price. So it's like, I don't know what to do. Please, this man should just go. Thank you.
Thank you so much for calling, and we understand where you are. Many people share same sentiments. It's really a rough time, and people's mental health, their minds are at risk.
There's obviously, a lot more people who agree with, the fact that Mele Kyari, needs to step down or needs to be suspended or something. But there's the argument that we heard this week also that says the NNPC is not necessarily, to be the one to be blamed solely for all of this. The whole Ministry of Petroleum, must be questioned. The running of the whole ministry must be questioned. And that starts from the Minister of Petroleum, himself. Do we have a National Assembly who's going to ask these questions or not? But of course, just like Nameka Obiari had mentioned, if we've had repeated failure to launch, promises that the Port Harcourt Refinery was going to start in 2019, and then we've continued to have failure to launch month after month, year after year, somebody needs to realize that they're incompetent, and be questioned. So, but I mean, it's Nigeria, so you maybe don't expect that anybody will actually be pointed out to be incompetent and asked to step aside so that another person can take over and actually make those things, a reality. We spoke about complete deregulation earlier, also with Nameka Obiari. I also, want us to, focus on something, and that is the fact that as much as we're talking about petrol price increase, we need to realize that it definitely will have a direct effect on the cost of living for every single person, both rich and poor, in every part of the country. I saw someone yesterday detailing how much he used to move from Yaba to Lekki one way, and he's through public transport, cost him about 2,200 naira to move from Yaba to Lekki.
Right.
Imagine a person who has to do that to and fro every single day, still earning the same salary that they were earning, a year ago, 2 years ago.
That's the reality of many Nigerians. Let's hear from Babare calling. Good morning. Thanks for calling. Please go ahead.
Morning, News Central. Morning, good thing. I am Babare, like you rightly said. Yesterday, I demanded that Labour to do something about this fuel overhaul. We should not leave it to Labour alone. It should be the totality of Nigeria. Because I don't know whether this man has a spell over the Nigerian citizenry. I said this thing during the elections. Our president keeps traveling to the Arab world, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, to meet these mullahs and ayatollahs who are spiritually gifted. You may not believe this, but I think this is playing out. This man keeps dangling different policies at us. But then Nigerians, we are not reacting. We thought we'd use the leg to scratch the ground, and that's all. We go to the filling station, you can park there, and you buy the petrol. Inflation skyrocketing in the market. You go to the market, you buy. So this time around, we should not leave it to Labour alone. At least the said protests are began in Delta. All around the country, so that this man will know that the pulse of Nigerians are really bad, and they want something good from government.
Labour Congress. Yesterday, you asked for the Nigerian Labour Congress to do something. And they are doing something now. They're, asking that the government rescinds a number of these policies. But do you believe that the Nigerian Labour Congress has the necessary power or influence to hold the government accountable? Oh, Simpson's call is gone. All right. These are some of the stories that we're looking at this morning. We'll still come back to talk more about this, but we'll go on a very quick break, and when we come back, more conversations continue. Stay with us. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. Now, we're still reviewing the papers. We've gone through all the headlines and what they're saying. We've taken a few calls. And now let's hear from our analysts. We're here by Chris Kende Nwandu, CKN. Good morning. It's good to have you. Congratulations. Eku fuel scarcity. Eku increments of fuel price. Eku traffic. Let's talk about that. How has that impacted you?
Terribly. You can see how late I got here. Even those that are buying have practically taken over all the roads. And the funniest part of it is that we're resilient people.
Yes.
We're a resilient
Probably
people.
resilient people.
And it's that advantage that our leaders take.
Understanding
They understand government. Yes. That's very strong and resilient people.
Push us to the wall.
And they push us to the wall. And because our leaders understand that, that is what they're doing what they're doing to us.
It's not just the resilience. There's resilience. There's also the games that are being played. The fact that Nigerians would almost never be united enough to speak with one voice. And I saw someone say yesterday that he looks forward to when, we get so choked that nobody remembers who is Igbo and who's Yoruba.
And that's why I say that even at over 1,000 naira, you still see a long queue of people queuing for over 2-3 kilometers waiting to buy fuel.
Well, I agree with you. Whilst I'm one of the people who will say Nigerians are understanding girlfriends, we understand too much, we're always making room and allowances for our politicians. On the other hand, I think what other alternative is there? They come out to protest, they arrest them, throw them behind bars and say, oh, protest is not allowed. They speak and the leaders act like they're not listening. So it feels like we don't really have a lot of choices and a lot of options.
You do.
So what are the options?
The options are always there. I've told you that, I've said it on this program, that in some countries, just the increase of the price of bread have led to the downfall of a government. We've seen instances where we saw what happened during the Arab Spring. It got so bad that somebody has to douse himself with petroleum and put himself on fire.
But we can't do that.
No, wait. If you are trying doing suicide bombing, suicide bombing is very alien to us here. But for whatever reason, some people I couldn't believe it that somebody would just wake up and tie himself up, or is tied up, and just went and detonate the thing. Never say never. And that is always said, never say never. But because you don't know how far, in fact, you have to be very careful when you're walking around the street of Lagos.
When I say we can't do that.
Because at times, wait, let me just finish.
Okay.
You have to be very careful the way you move around, even on the streets of Nigeria now, because at times you can even just say good morning to somebody, and the person just feel annoyed and just slap you out of annoyance. And let me give another classical example. Within the last 1 week, I've been attacked twice on traffic by robbers.
Yeah.
I'm talking of myself. Within the last 1 week, I've been attacked twice. I was driving, and I was attacked in Lagos here.
I think, and I hear you.
And that is how bad things have gotten.
I agree with you. I think when I say we can't do that, it's more like I'm not saying it's not possible. We're not encouraging people to go and douse themselves in petrol.
No. I'm not saying that. No, I'm not saying that people should go and douse. I'm only saying, just tell you that we are so resilient in the sense that our leaders have all that. We don't always have a choice.
The leaders would suppress any form of resistance.
So his point is that there's a kind of resistance that you can't suppress.
Yes.
When people are
that is,
tired.
he got the point I'm saying.
We
you
have
got what I'm saying.
Imo, I think, calling. Good morning.
All right.
Good morning. Can you hear us? All right. Hopefully you call back. But another thing, because I don't want us to focus too much on the petrol scarcity. There's so many other things in the news. But another thing, is the confusion as to whether you have a justifiable reason to even be angry. Because there are people who, even while buying it for 1,200 naira, in that frustration will still say to themselves, oh, but, if we truly want to remove subsidy, we'll have to buy expensive petrol, So maybe that's a justifiable reason to, not bother yourself protesting when everybody else is protesting. And so that confusion, that just exists here and there, continues to let people, continue just to be docile and never really
I'm always of this
be angry enough.
I'm always of this school of opinion that we got our independence very early, just too early. Okay, because we didn't have that resistance movement like some other countries had. That has made us so docile. Take for example South Africa. You know what the South Africans went through.
Yeah.
And at the end of through apartheid and the rest of them, I'm not saying that South Africa is Eldorado, but you could see the level of development and the kind of, you can compare South Africa with any other European country in terms of development, in terms of political maturity and the rest of them. And that is why I was saying some time ago that after the election, do you see anybody going around, going to court and the rest of them? So, but even at that, you also see their resistance because that they also know that most often than not, when there's serious, when government is not keeping to their promises, you see them coming out to protest, despite everything that government tried to do. It happened. And let's take it further, even within the South African country. If you see what Robert Mugabe did in Zimbabwe, for a long time, it came to a point that he has to go. Either through whatever means, he left. And that has been so consistent. But my question now is that things have gotten so bad that it seems that our government is so confused they don't even know what to do. Especially with the economy.
I don't think that's what it is. All right. Good morning, Mr. Abdul Rashid. So you may have disconnected.
You know, you say you don't think that is what it is. What it is because the confusion started from, at least the current confusion started from the first day, May 29, 2023. When the president came out and said, oil subsidy removed. He said that he's not the one that removed it, but the fact remains that he announced it. And since then, we had this spiral effect. Yeah. And there have always been. Then from there, we moved to the Naira, the dollar, the floating of the Naira, and the rest of it. From there, you moved to energy. Now, to the point that even the only agency of government, or I'll call it, although they say they privatized it, NNPC, cannot, in its truth, tell Nigerians the truth.
Yeah, that's why I said I don't think it's confusion. So, because the government has enough people.
Are you saying that it's a deliberate attempt? Yeah, are you saying it's a deliberate attempt?
No.
So what is it? Well,
if it's not
anything. No, you are saying no.
The point I'm trying to make is the government has enough brilliant minds in its economic management team. It has always had. It's not lacking in advice on what the best thing is to do. Okay. But a government that has continued to fail to meet its deadlines with something as simple as the Port Harcourt Refinery. Yeah. It's not a government that's confused. There's just not that will to actually know that this is the right thing to do and we're going to go ahead and do it. It's not confusion. It is that political will that is completely lacking in doing what needs to be done and taking the Nigerian people and their cries and their tears seriously. That's where I think that it is, so amongst many other things.
That is it. Let me tell you, it starts from the head. And it starts from the head. And that's why I say that when I say government now is now situated within the table of the president. Yeah. Because the buck stops at his table. Right. Well, if you talk about that, you can say governors, local government, but the current situation as we hear lies squarely on the doorstep of the president.
Yeah. Again, I don't think it's confusion.
Yes.
80 people were buried in Yobe State yesterday or the day before. Mr. President's currently not in Nigeria. The Emir of Emir.
Yes, Emir in Sokoto.
The one in Sokoto. So, I mean, so when you don't see the reaction that you should see from the people who should be in charge of security, then it's not confusion. They're not confused. It's just the lacking of the interest.
I know that the two are intertwined. Economy, security. I'm even much more concerned with the economy.
All right. Please, just I know because of time, I need us to speak about Labour Party, Julius Abure, Alex Oti, and of course their
Peter Obi.
Yes,
the rest.
The whole of the drama.
It's confusion everywhere, and that was if you remember Fela. Is at this time I miss Fela because Fela for don't release one serious hit, we go hit everybody. But so the confusion is at this time that you expect that the opposition parties to be able to raise their voice. But even the opposition party are in total disarray. You see what is happening in PDP. You see what is happening in Labour Party. For Labour Party, they try to, I think for the first time they're trying to do what some Nigerians felt that they would have done in the since. Because there have been all sorts of allegations against the person of the, I don't know what to call him, whether former, current, or whatever chairman of the party. Serious allegation of fraud and alleged You have to also use that word allege. And I thought by now that they would have taken serious decision to be able to bet. Since they're waking up from a plumber, they met in Uma here and be able to pick the former finance minister as an interim caretaker committee chairman. And what they are trying to do now, I want to believe, is rebranding. But Aburo himself has come out with his cohorts here to say
we no go agree.
So let's see how that pans out. But Labour Party, as I say, is in disarray. And let's give them the next few weeks and see how it's going to. But they just have to, something has to give in Labour Party. And that is where I at a point I was saying that P2B is not doing enough.
But so far with this move, do you think that...
Yes, that's why I said what they are doing now is what they ought to have done in the past few months. For goodness sake, the party is not owned by Buri. He just won.
His birthright.
It's not his birthright.
But does that not in a way symbolize how Nigerians view their relationship with power? It's why people get into politics and they're there and they don't want to leave. It's why some people have camped in the National Assembly as their birthright. We have a selfish relationship with power.
No, it's not selfish. It's the peck of office that makes them. Because they know when they get there, they become so rich that they don't want to leave. So if you make politics unattractive, quote and unquote, in terms of returns, then if it's going to be, because you are supposed to be serving people. That's what politics is all about. You ought to serve. So it's not a place for you to acquire wealth, and because if you look at the allegations, and I continue to say allegations against this man, and you see, if you remember what was it the financial secretary or treasurer of the party said, and all the things that were listed, this man was somebody that was practically struggling, quote and unquote, before. But according to what they said now, you need to see, I don't want to start going to the realms of rumors and the rest of them. But that is the part. If you are out to serve the people, if the people feel that you are not delivering, then you have to step down. But nobody does in Nigeria.
It is deceitful, looking at Nigerian politics and imagining
politicians.
That it's about service. Except you mean, service of the pocket.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
80, 90%, I don't know what percentage.
99%.
Okay, what?
Leave that one. Just leave that window. Just leave that 1% window.
Are there any politicians that are inside that 1%?
That's
what are the ones that come to your mind that are in the 1%?
I don't even know, but just leave that 1%.
But the point is, they don't have any other jobs outside politics.
That is it.
And so that's why when they get in, there's nothing else to do after that 4 years.
Look at the United States.
Keep themselves there.
President Biden had the option of remaining and say, no, I'll see this through. I want to contest, irrespective of whatever everybody say. Well, but at the end of I'm just
that's subject to debates.
No, let me say. That is a system that works. That is a system that works. But they've spoken to him and say, Oga, you can't see this through. It's better you do think that you can tell a Nigerian presidential candidate, no matter even if it's 1,000 years, that he should step down, and you see him stepping down. It's not possible.
Yeah, but I mean, there's no jobs, so. If
jobs
he leaves, where's he going to?
Jobs because ordinarily, before you come to public service, before you come, you're supposed to have delivered. It's based on what you have done in the past that people look up to you to pick you up as a leader. Do you understand what I mean? But the reverse is the case here. Our own here is once you have the money in your pocket, you believe it, irrespective of where you get the money from.
Or you can bully your way.
You can bully yourself.
Even if you don't have
the pedigree, if you don't have the pedigree, anything.
And nobody has any of your baby pictures anywhere.
Nobody, even if they have.
Okay.
You can always deny it.
I want us to talk about this as quickly as possible before we wrap up. NIMET predicts 3-day thunderstorms rains across Nigeria. That's on the front page of this Nigerian newspaper. Then on the front page of the Punch, NEC fears poor harvest as flooding kills 205. So it seems that we're going to have a bit of a flooding problem. And I'm talking about it so we can raise awareness. And I'm hoping that something is being done because there is warning now. And not that when that time comes, we'll then pretend like we don't know. And people's houses and cars will be under the water. And then we'll say, oh, there's no harvest because there was really terrible flooding.
We've always had this alarm, as it were. It's not today starts. From the beginning of the year, they might have been coming out and saying, so. The problem has always been, what have we done? Or what are we doing? Because in other parts of the world, there is nothing you cannot predict, even except in small instances. You see in the US, in the Russia, they will tell you that there's going to be a storm. There's going to be a tsunami. There's going to be this. There's going to be flooding. And most often than not, government take proactive measures. Even the people on their own start taking. But here, They'll just tell us, oh, that will be the and nothing is being done.
So just to mention that they are saying that it will start from the early hours on Wednesday.
Today is
That's today.
Yesterday.
Yesterday, right?
Yesterday.
Later they said. Anyway, let's just see. Let's
My
hope
own
that
is that what are we doing? What are we doing to help the people? And I always quote this. They say people should move to upper land. And when you say people move to upper land, what is the alternative? Are you opening an IDP camp for them to move to, or what? Because most of these people don't have alternative. And that is what happens. And day in, day out, we continue to have this. It is not something that just takes you by surprise, because this is predicted a year ahead, at times a year ahead, 2 years ahead. Yeah. And you ask yourself, what is the government doing? What is NEMA doing? What is the state government doing? What is the federal government doing? What are the at the local government level? What are they doing? When you say I should move, why should I move? I should move from my village in Umungobo. Where should I move to? I should move to Umahia, or to move to where? Yeah. So we should be able to provide alternative for Nigerians to be able, and that is always my own issue with this. It's not just asking people, oh, we're predicting this is going to happen. At the end of it, what next?
Yeah, I mean,
what next?
The president, I think, was in the news also that the president's giving certain states billions of naira, as a result of the flooding, but I've always
talking about so there's also the ecological fund that is given to the states. Yeah. That you give it to the state, and most often than not, the state government just pocket it. I interviewed just as I was on there. Yeah. I interviewed the commissioner on my one of my TV programs. I interviewed the commissioner of environment, Ogun State, about 2-3 weeks ago, and I said, "What are you doing with the ecological funds being given to your state? Because you are complaining, blah blah." He said on national TV that I have never gotten a kobo.
He has never gotten a kobo.
Yes, in the past 2 years. That's the commissioner.
So where's the money going to?
So that's the question. That's the question to ask.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
I've also always spoken about the agricultural value chain in Nigeria, and how it is so faulty. Yeah. That we don't have certain things that, if we know that there's going to be flood in certain parts of the country every year, it doesn't change. There will be flooding this year. Mm-hmm. We should have plans that are already set up to mitigate against.
That is what I'm saying. That's what I just said.
Storage facilities.
That is what I'm just saying.
Whatever it is.
That is what I'm saying, because it's a pattern.
Yeah.
Because there are some areas of this country that you definitely, let's take, for example, Lokoja. Of course, you know that every year there will always be serious rain, and within that Lokoja as is, that place will be flooded, the road will be flooded, and the rest of them. What are you doing? Taraba. You know that there will always be problem within those areas, some areas in Taraba. The Riverine area in Nigeria, in the south.
Yeah.
Ogun State. Let us even say Lagos, Ogun State. Between the Lagos, Ogun State border, as you're going towards Mowe, the express, that once they open up the dam, that place gets flooded, and the whole of that is, what are we doing about it? So those have always been the issue. And at the end of it, year in, year, we continue crying and nothing is being done. And that has always been my problem. And we have a Ministry of Environment, we have the NIMET, we have NAMA, and we have several agencies of government that are supposed to be able to take care of this. The question you ask, one, are they getting the necessary funding? That is one. Because it's one thing for them to cry out, and you just realize that they're not even getting what level of appropriation is being given them by the National Assembly. And if appropriation was made, have we been able to go to interrogate and prove whether those money were used for that is what happens in this country. Nobody gives no accountability, and that has always been an issue.
Chris Kendi-Wando, thank you very much for joining us, as always, and sharing your views on these stories. And thanks to those who called as well to contribute to the program.
I wish I just come here one day, we just talk something very, very pleasant and positive.
Yeah, when
than all these
Dangote Refinery is fully functional, maybe we will talk about
Dangote Refinery.
Okay, the seventh time.
They've shifted it for 6 times.
Bros, you're low wow. So, have a wonderful day.
Have faith.
I do.
Stay with us. We've heard what Chris Kendi-Wando has had to say. A few of our callers as well have had their say. But now let's share with you a broader picture of what Nigerians are saying. That comes up right next.
The Labour Party has sacked Julius Abure as the national chairman of the party and has set up a 29-member caretaker committee to fill up the vacuum. Julius Abure is, however, not having it, as he has declared the committee unconstitutional. The party came to this decision at the extended stakeholders meeting hosted in Umuahia by Governor Alex Oti, the governor of Abia State. In attendance were notable members of the party such as Mr. Peter Obi and his vice, Dati Ahmed, Badebo Revival, Ethan Achonu, and others who ran for office under the party were also present at the meeting. Abure and his allies, however, even though they were invited, they were absent from the meeting. The 29-member caretaker committee is drawn from the Senate, the House of Representatives, the 6 geopolitical zones, NLC and TUC. The committee is chaired by former Minister of Finance and Senator Esther Nenadi Usman, and the secretary is Honorable Darlington Onwokocha. The committee is tasked with the responsibility of conducting party congresses and the National Convention within 90 days. In her acceptance speech, Senator Nenadi promised to work with her team for the unity and the growth of the party. Governor Oti said that while the Abure-led leadership has the right to challenge the decision of the Independent National Electoral Commission in the court, it is better for Labour Party to avoid any action that may render its actions illegal in the future. However, in an interesting turn of events, the official Labour Party handle on X put out a press release and a tweet disowning the outcome of the Umuahia stakeholders meeting, calling it illegal and unconstitutional. While supporters of the Abure-led National Working Committee have kicked against the said meeting, a large fraction of the members of the party have been seen jubilating across social media. So now we'll head to social media and take the tweets of these Nigerians who have reacted to the story. Our first tweet is from Miss Pell. Miss Pell says, Abure is gone, end of an era. Next tweet is from Maurice Moye, who says, Maurice Moye says, not sure Abure understands how high the stakes are for Nigerians. For him, it's holding on to power by all means. We have the next tweet from Kene, who says, nearly all men can stand adversity, but if you want to test a man's character, give him power. And this is a quote by Abraham Lincoln. Abure tested power as a party chairman and refused to relinquish it. Odogu Zeji is the next tweet. He says, of all the governorship contestants, current senators, I'll take that again. If all the governorship contestants, current senators, current HORs, current governor, and some state party chairmen under the Labour Party were in the meeting, who's then standing on Abure's mandate? I think that's a good question to ask. Following up with that question, we see God's Will Alone for Nigeria says, Dear Abure, sir, you can't declare the gathering of the excellencies of excellencies illegal and expect it to stand. The next tweet is from Temi Tokpe, who says, Apapa was our guy, but injustice was done to him, and they pushed him out of the party he supported long before that destroyer Obi got there. Now, Abure is in charge. He deserves our support. Let's all join hands with him to bring discipline to Labour Party. On the contrary, N6 says, we survived Lamidi Apapa, we will survive Julius Abure. Ituma Sani is the next tweet, who says, the present leadership of the party was constituted based on a constitutional order, and you think you can dislodge them based on unconstitutional order? That you and Peter Obi support this shows that you are not different from other political parties. Abure is still the national chair. And the final tweet is from Kendo, who says, Abure and Wike are 5 and 6. They still illegally claim ownership of the party they have served and retired. Wow. Shots fired at Nyesom Wike there. But that's all the tweets that we have to take. You've heard all the perspectives of this, regardless of all that's been happening. If the Labour Party must be a formidable force like it was in the 2023 elections, then it must put its house in order. And, will this be considered putting its house in order? What will be the future of the Labour Party? I guess in the next few days, weeks, months, we'll find out. But that's all that we have on what Nigerians are saying. Thank you for watching.
Petrol prices has exacerbated fuel scarcity across the country, causing long queues and exorbitant costs for motorists and commuters. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited and NPCL retail stations are selling fuel at 855 naira per litre, while independent marketers are charging up to 1,018 naira per litre.
Black market sellers are exploiting the crisis, charging up to 1,500 naira per litre. The scarcity has disrupted daily routines, increased transportation costs, and traders warn of a rise in goods and service prices. Commuters and motorists are experiencing significant inconvenience, with many struggling to cope with the situation. We're joined this morning by the former Deputy President, NLC and Industry Labor Relations Consultant, Amechi Asugoni. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning.
All right.
Nice.
What do you make of the current reality that Nigerians are having to unfortunately bear with the increase in fuel price, the still, unavailability of the product, the long queues, the traffic, and the fact that Labour has now spoken up, and is trying to wade into the matter? What influence do you think that Labour's wading in will have on the matter?
The truth of the matter is the hike in price of petrol is something we have envisaged that it will continue. There is no other way to do something right than to solve it from the foundation. Labour is actually taking this step because their members are affected, because don't forget, Nigerian Labour Congress are guided by Constitution, and whether we like it or not, the recent minimum wage was focused on workers' welfare. Beyond Nigerian Labour Congress is Nigeria. And that is the largest space that requires our concern. The hike in price of fuel has affected the entire commodity and services in the society. And then the earlier the federal government begin to sense the impact of fuel price rise. Because what are we doing? You say you have deregulated the sector, and we are still paying subsidy in this gas, and they call it recovery. All of this must stop. You deregulate a sector, you allow private actors to now determine price by virtue of the law of demand and supply. That is not working. The Dangote Refinery, how many dates have they given for the refinery to start production and sale according to them? That will lead to crashing of price, which some of us never believe, because Dangote Refinery is a private refinery, and our demand has continued to hit on let our refinery work. That is the solution to solving this local challenge. If Nigerian refinery fails to work, there is no way we can deregulate subject to international price, and you believe you can control the price here. How can you regulate price that is not under your control? So I believe and I support the action of Nigerian Labour Congress to ask for reversal. Beyond the reversal, it should be a request for reduction. Let federal government take back this subsidy. Remove price, take back this subsidy, pay subsidy for a period of time, put refineries to work, and then deregulate. And then Nigeria will give kudos to government action. Nobody is supporting subsidy, but removal of subsidy to subject it to international market is very, very unacceptable. And that is what we are.
Yeah, but do you not agree with the government's perspectives on this, that they can't continue to pay subsidy, and so, in the interim, Nigerians will definitely just have to bear the brunt, of the new moves that the government is making, in the petroleum sector?
Now, the same federal government tells you they are not paying subsidy. NNPC has also reviewed that the landing cost of petrol to this country is at 1,002, 1,003. And the same NNPC is selling at 800 now, not even 8, 600 and something. So that tells you that 50% of it has been subsidized. So who is paying that subsidy? The same federal government that tells you they are not paying subsidy, they are paying subsidy. So what kind of trick? So why not use the same means of NNPC, extend it to other marketers, and then let us know that fuel in Nigeria is at a certain price. Why Nigeria make effort to put refinery to work? The criminality around subsidy is immaterial to the policy of Nigeria to make refinery work. They are trying to make us focus on the corruption in the subsidy. We are pushing federal government to focus on who shut down the refineries in Nigeria. How come refineries in Port Harcourt, refineries in Warri, the one in Kaduna, no one is producing any? Who made this so? And where are the workers? Is that not worse in corruption? That you have workers in those factories, we budget money every year for rehabilitation and whatever they call it. Till today, it has not worked. How many dates have they actually given as timeline to make refinery work in Nigeria? None has commenced. And you think Nigeria will believe when they say they are on top of the situation? It's fake. So the only way is give us timeline. And that is why you see that maybe they are looking at it that every protest in Nigeria is limited to 1 day protest, 10 days, 3 days. By the time you see Nigerians move to conduct an indefinite protest and request for good governance to the extent that, including refinery, if you don't get a date, because everybody's hungry. When you see the hunger protest that took place, that will tell you that the next protest may have limited name, because the fuel is the determinant for whatever we consume in Nigeria, and the average product in this country is also imported, and that tells you that we are now using Nigeria currency at the mercy of foreign currency, because we don't produce anything, making our own currency weaker daily. So it's not about subsidy continuation. It's about solving the problem to save Nigeria. Subsidy removal, we agree. The time was very wrong. You can't remove subsidy when you are not producing. I have told us in this program and other programs I appeared, and I said, what necessitated subsidy? Subsidy came alive because Nigeria felt that we have these resources, we are supposed to produce, and until we start production, since we're importing it, we need to take charge of setting payment. So they absorb the cost of importation and more or less other charges to make the price lesser. Unfortunately, over 6 decades, in this same country, we have been buying fuel from outside Nigeria. You produce your raw material, you export, you buy the refined product from another country. That is very, very unprogressive. And that is why you see that the quest for refinery coal is more significant than to talk about subsidy. Removal of subsidy is immaterial now. We're talking about let refinery work so that the price of fuel could drop. And that is the reason NSC is also giving their notice for price reversal.
What happens, just like we spoke with Mr. Dejomo earlier, what happens if, President Tinubu's government completely ignores the NLC, and tells you that they are working on it, just hold on?
It's not about Tinubu and NFC now. It's about federal government and Nigeria. And that is where we want everybody to know that people who want to put trust in NSC, you are putting trust in an organization that is also governed by constitution. Beyond the NSC notice to Tinubu, or call the federal government, not even personally, it's not a personal cost now. We are looking at situation if federal government misses the opportunity to allow Nigerian Labour Congress get this issue resolved. Nigerians may be the one to issue that notice to federal government, and that will be worse. So it's not about neglecting. If you neglect the notice of NSC, you will not neglect the hike in price of fuel that eventually will touch the ordinary man in the streets who are not members of NSC. Don't forget, NSAS protest was never conducted by Nigerian Labour Congress. End-bad governance protest was not conducted by Nigerian Labour Congress. So the provocation is on the street, and whereby they have seen that, okay, when they were doing end-bad governance, NSC just rounded up their negotiation of minimum wage, so they did not join. Now that NSC is the first to call for reversal, you know the danger it imposed, because that means any protest in that direction, NSC is one of them. And if NSC lead a protest in Nigeria, don't forget that is a legitimate platform that every other Nigerian that are also in that protest, or rather feeling that grudge, will eventually join that line. And it's not going to be easy for government to control. And that is why it's better for president to say something now about refinery, say something about timeline, what is holding what, and why. Because if we use Tinubu, if we use the refinery of, call it the
Dangote
refinery of Dangote, if you use the Dangote refinery as a yardstick to preach to Nigerians to calm down, that is why you see, I don't even think Mr. President has made reference to Dangote Refinery, because that would be very shameful of federal government to begin to use a private-owned refinery as a yardstick to deliver Nigeria from the quagmire. So what we are facing now is a situation whereby federal government has failed to activate its own refineries to work, then depending on a one-man business who believe also that he may take his product outside Nigeria to make profit. He didn't build that refinery to favor Nigeria. He didn't build that refinery for charity. And therefore, for him to make his money, he may target other African countries to export his product. And nobody will hold him liable because he's a business. Federal government must participate, and crash the price by getting involved.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us, Deputy President, NLC and Industry Labor Relations Consultant, Amici Asuguni. We look forward to having you again.
Thank you. You're welcome.
All right. As we wrap up the show, let's share with you what's happening later today on News Central. At 10 a.m. West African time, join us for Jasiri. At 3 p.m. as well, join us for our bulletin at 3 p.m. and 10 p.m. join us for tonight. All right. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back again same time tomorrow to bring the final episode of Breakfast Central for the week. My name is Olive Emodi, and I'll see you tomorrow.
And I am Osaogie Ogbon. See you tomorrow.